Back on HQ, it was a down season for the Niners in 2024, and the group coming back for 25 is going to look drastically different. An offseason exodus of key pieces, largely in part to pay the quarterback, Brock Purdy, looking for an extension as he heads into the final year of his deal. On Tuesday, owner Jed York acknowledged those 17 key departures and addressed outside claims that he's, quote, going cheap. He responded with, quote, saying, "I've been called worse. I get it. Fans care. You want to win. And when you're in a world where everybody is watching the NFL the first week of free agency, or at least the first few days of free agency, it's a frenzy. When you're not overly active in that space, it gets easy to say, oh, you don't want to win." I don't know that as we looked at the board that there was somebody that we felt made the type of impact more so than making the decision to try and go pay Brock. For more on this matter and others, we say hello to Bryant McFadden. Mac, I'm putting you on the spot here. Purdy is the what number quarterback in the league in your eyes?
What number quarterback in the league? He is top 15.
I've got him at 14 in my personal rankings. I only offer that to ask you this because we've got a lot of guys making 50 plus now on an average annual value. Of the 5 making 55 plus, one won a playoff game last year, Josh Allen. How much pressure is there going to be on Purdy to play to his contract after all that the Niners have sacrificed to get something done?
There's always pressure when you talk about receiving a potential record-breaking deal or being anywhere in the neighborhood of high players at your position. There's always pressure. But for Brock Purdy, he can care less about those concerns. He wants an opportunity to receive what he is deserving of receiving. And fans have talked about this potential contract off and on throughout the entire offseason. And the first thing they say, well, Brock Purdy is more of a product of what is surrounding him. Okay, and if that's the case, he's done everything he's supposed to do. But if you look at Brock Purdy, he has outkicked the coverage compared to the other guys that had the position before he became the starting quarterback. And because of the success of Brock Purdy, keeping everything in coordinates, they've won ball games, they've been relevant. People don't talk about the Trey Lance trade, right? People don't talk about that because of Brock Purdy. People don't talk about paying Jimmy Garoppolo. No, those were things that were mishaps for the San Francisco 49ers, but we don't talk about them. Why? Because Brock Purdy has jumped into the saddle and he hasn't missed a beat. That's very, very important. So I would never consider Brock Purdy as an individual, Joe, to be in that elite conversation, to be in that top 10 conversation. But when you look at the market for quarterbacks, the same can be said for other guys who were paid. Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, are they in that elite conversation? No. Have they been winning more than losing? No. Have they been to a Super Bowl? No. Have they had success in playoff games to the level of Brock Purdy? No. But did they have to scratch and claw to get their deal? No. So if you're Brock Purdy, don't try to have me in that running back scale where you're kind of just keeping a cap on what I can get. Give me the same grace and favor those players receive, because up until this point, when it comes to wins and losses, Brock Purdy has been better than those quarterbacks that I mentioned. And they got paid, so why can't Brock Purdy?
I totally agree with you. It's not a flaw with Purdy. It's a flaw in the market and the way that quarterbacks are currently paid. There's also a cautionary tale, not just there, but in their own backyard, paying top flight to a non-elite wide receiver who they've tried to shop this offseason in Brandon Ayuk. I understand injury a season ago, but San Francisco 49ers are going to have to cut a big check here to Purdy, and Purdy's going to have to respond in kind to that money. I know it's my job to find the angles, Mac, but I'm wearing thin on this. The Rodgers saga. I mean, Steelers said they're going to wait a little longer. There was a camera crew at Rodgers and DK Metcalf's workout recently. I don't know. Take me inside the text messages that you have in your pocket right now. What are the Steelers legends that you stay in touch with saying about how this is playing out currently?
Their patience is ran its course. What are we doing? What are we doing? and this is the silver lining that I came about today. I said because of what is going on, and with Pittsburgh not really being tied to any other potential quarterback, they have to know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback. They have to know. Think about this. DK Metcalf was traded to Pittsburgh. and all of a sudden, there's a camera crew taking pictures when Aaron Rodgers is throwing to who? DK Metcalf, right? So clearly Aaron wants to play football because you don't just casually go out to UCLA and say, hey, let's throw it around. That was planned. That was planned, right? Let me go ahead and see what's going on. Let's spark up some media traction right now. And they did. So I feel like with Pittsburgh being as smart as they've been as an organization, I don't think they will put all their eggs in one basket with no bottom in the basket. They have to know Aaron Rodgers is going to be our guy. Because Aaron Rodgers isn't the guy, you're basically giving the keys to Mason Rudolph. And there's no knock on Mason Rudolph, but this is the same quarterback you allowed to walk to be Tennessee's backup quarterback. And now you're trying to have him be your starter, especially with the playoff aspirations that you have year in and year out. That doesn't make any sense. So I feel like within the building, or with a few people in the building, they know for sure that Aaron Rodgers is going to say, yes, I want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's get it done. Because everything else that has surfaced for all of us from the outside looking in, it really isn't making any sense. That's why I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers know something that we do not know.
It's currently a waiting game with Rodgers. I want to follow up here. If it is Rodgers, and you do get a year, maybe 2 years of run out of him as a Pittsburgh Steeler, are you still going quarterback at some point in this upcoming draft? Milroe, Dart, someone further down the board?
You know what, Joe? Great question. I think it depends on how the board falls, like in terms of players. And you look at, I feel like there's only two legit quarterbacks that should be first-round draft picks. That's Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I know other guys are getting traction, but in just terms of what they did collegiately, week in and week out, the consistency and their ability to elevate others around them, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, also too, Joe, we must remember they don't have a second-round pick as we see it today. Yeah. So either you're taking a flyer on a first-round quarterback. We saw how that played when they took a flyer on Kenny Pickett in a watered-down quarterback class. It didn't work out well. Or you might try to trade back up in the second round, take a guy, or just stay put in the third round and take a guy. But at some point, because even if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, he's not the long-term answer. And because they have not been able to find the long-term answer, that's why they're going into this year-by-year case at the quarterback position.
And that's just it. We've talked about this ad nauseum before. Got to get serious about finding the long-term answer at quarterback, and that's hard to do when you keep winning 10 games, sneaking into the playoffs, and bowing out early. Let's keep cameras on the mind here, if you will. You know Jerry Jones is going to find them. Preparing to pay their star edge are the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons, but Jerry offering a ricochet shot at Parsons' agent. Take a listen.
The agent is not a factor here or something to worry about. And I don't know his name. And so my point is that I'm not trying to demean him in any way, but this isn't about an agent. The agent doesn't have one thing to do with what we're doing when we get on a football field against a team. Micah does. To the degree I'm involved, I do. The people that have something to do with what we do going forward relative to our fans in football are me and the player, not the agent.
That was the with all due respect and then immediate disrespect. Mac, we know Jerry serves as both judge and jury, but it seems like nothing gets done these days without undue friction in Dallas. What do you make of Jerry trying to box out an agent here?
It's another day in the life of the Cowboys. You talk about being the ultimate soap opera in the NFL. I grew up with my grandma, and we used to watch CBS daily. And one of her favorite soap operas, it was Young and the Restless and God in Light. And I became a fan of Young and the Restless and God in Light. And the thing that I love about those two soap operas, there was always drama. Always drama. Verbal drama, sometimes physical drama, but it was going to be some drama that made you want to watch the next episode. And that's what we're seeing from Jerry Jones. The agent is relevant. It is. If that player has an agent representing him. And for Jerry to not acknowledge the agent and how relevant he is, that is a problem. Because you can say whatever you want to say about the personal one-on-one conversations you've had with your star player in Micah Parsons. Nothing will get done, contractually speaking, without the agent reviewing the language of the contract, reviewing the terms, and then he will tell his client who he is representing, yes, we got a deal. That's why Micah Parsons is paying him to do a job. So Jerry just making it seem like, nah, that ain't a big deal. It is. And Jerry has been in the game far too long to not know this, to not understand this. You can't go ahead and try to make a neighborhood contract with Micah Parsons and, hey, man, let's go ahead and agree to this. No, he's going to, let me see the paperwork. Let me see the documents. Let's send it over to my guy. That's how it works. That's how it worked for his first contract. So why would Jerry Jones think otherwise, Joe? Remember, they negotiated with Parsons' agent during his rookie contract. I understand the rookie pay scale is slotted, but you still had to talk with the agent. So, hey, a day in the life. Dallas used to be a TV series back in the day. They got the ultimate soap opera, depending on which one you grew up watching. Like I said, I was a Young and the Restless and a Guiding Light fan. They're going to give you some drama. And once again, Jerry provided the drama for all of us.
Yeah, when you're trying to take steps closer together to get the deal done, it felt like a step taken apart here on Tuesday. I will add The Young and the Restless in its 52nd season on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Bryant McFadden, thank you as always.
Great plug, Joe.
All right, here's a look at your highest paid non-quarterbacks. A commitment likely to be made to Micah Parsons in the not too distant future. Parsons going to find himself at the top, if not in the neighborhood of those highest paid non-quarterbacks. The contemporaries in both wide receivers and edges, with the lone departure, a defensive tackle in Chris Jones making $31.8, but it's 40 plus for Parsons.